Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Scottish Labour seems to think that there's going to be an election sooner rather than later. And I think they're probably right. This current SNP government cannot go on for much longer, stumbling as it is from crisis to crisis, leaving nothing but chaos and destruction in its wake. The falling membership numbers, the parlour state of its accounts, all the resignations and the police investigations. It is a crashing and burning government with nothing to offer. Up and down the country, even its own supporters now look to see it is a party in disarray, and it is a party that is dying on its feet. In fact, its only saving grace is if somehow Humza Yousaf resigns and Kate Forbes takes over with immediate effect. Only that would possibly save the party. It's already far too late to save this government, but it would go into opposition, it may rebuild, and who knows what may happen in the future. But it seems because that election may well occur soon, Scottish Labour want to be in a position where they are leading from the front. And to that end, Anna Sarwar has gone to Glasgow Pollock, Humza Yousaf's home constituency. Not his home, of course, that's in Dundee. He wants to get as far away from his constituents as is reasonably possible, because he knows what an appalling job he's done in the constituency. And that is why, of course, Mr Sarwar is there. He's highlighting the failures, not just of him, of Humza Yousaf in his constituency, but of the SNP government in the round. And so we'll have a look at this article to see what Labour think they have to offer and why they think Humza Yousaf and the SNP have failed. Here goes. I've just done the video on how scared Nicola Sturgeon is, and now her protege, continuity Nicola Sturgeon, Humza Yousaf, it appears he also is scared. So, scared Humza Yousaf, humiliated as he is accused of failing his own Pollock constituency, which we know he has. He's done nothing for it. Scottish Labour kickstarted its massive election push using a speech in Glasgow Pollock as it accused the new First Minister of failing kids there and attacking the SNP for the scandals involving it. Humza Yousaf has been left humiliated after he was accused of failing his own constituency, and he was lambasted for his party's struggling finances in his own backyard. Scottish Labour went on the offensive in a new First Minister's Glasgow Pollock constituency, as the leader Anna Sarwar called him too scared to call for an early Holyrood election during a press conference there. Well, we know he's scared to call it. He's incapable of winning it. Now, the thing is, he knows he's incapable of winning that election because of everything that's going on around him. But I think what he also doesn't realise, what Humza Yousaf doesn't realise, is he's incapable of winning that election even if he wasn't having all the problems that he's mired in. The man has no charm. He has no political understanding. Every time he opens his mouth, like so many in the SNP, he says and does the wrong thing every single time. And people are seeing it. People are starting to catch on about how useless both useless is and how useless the SNP are generally. This is why their membership are falling. Mr Yousaf no longer actually lives in the area, as I mentioned, having up sticks to the posh suburb of Broughty Ferry more than 5 years ago. But Mr Sarwar called out the SNP for its various scandals which have engulfed the party in recent weeks. Too many to mention. You've got to limit the time of these videos. If I was to limit them, name them all, it'd be an hour long minimum. Anyway, he also hinted at the preparations being made by Scottish Labour for a tilt at taking the nearby Rutherglen seat, which could be up for grabs in the next few months due to an unexpected recall position for disgraced former SNP Margaret Ferrier. And now I've done videos on her. She is more or less done. The committee has suggested 30 days suspension, which means it will be an automatic opportunity. The opportunity then automatically goes. It only needs 10% of the electorate to call for a recall election. And let me tell you that Labour and the Lib Dems and the Conservatives are out making sure their members, their supporters are going to be pushing for it. They will easily get 10%, if not much, much more. So as soon as it's announced that 30-day suspension is going to be established, she's out. She won't win the seat in the election. And it's very highly unlikely that the SNP will win it. It looks most likely to be a Labour seat. It will go back to Labour, but it'll be another sort of poke in the eye for Humza Yousaf. Anyway, speaking on Monday morning, Mr Sarwar said communities like Pollock have been let down by the SNP and the Tories for too long. Right here in the First Minister's own constituency, nearly a third of children are today growing up in poverty. This is a poverty caused not by the previous administration, not by the Tory government in London, but by 16 years of SNP rule, because this sort of stuff is entirely down to them. This is all devolved matters. And so if there's children in poverty in Scotland, it's down entirely to the SNP. He said there's more than 5,000 children. This is just in Humza Yousaf's constituency. More than 5,000 children who are not being given a fair start in life and are being held back from fulfilling their true potential. There are many wonderful organisations working in this community to tackle poverty, many operating from the centre where he was speaking. He says, I know there is a wonderful community spirit created by the people who live here, but communities like Pollock also need a helping hand from government. He said, otherwise we can't hope to fix the inequalities, which mean life expectancy for males here is just 72, the third lowest in Scotland. While just a few miles away in Eastwood, it's more than 81 years. It is actually one of the lowest life expectancies, not just in Scotland, but actually in Britain. It's an appalling. I mean, you think where the average, what is it? The average life expectancy in Britain, across Britain as a whole now, is something like 83. And if you're a man living in, in Pollock, 72, if you're lucky. Now that is a telling tale, and that is undoubtedly poverty and access to healthcare. They are the two big deciding issues when it comes to longevity. It's money and access to healthcare, and I suspect in Pollock it's full of poverty, and healthcare will be very much of a struggle. Scottish Labour is predicted to run the SNP close at the next general election, where it could pick up more than 20 nationalist seats, condemning Mr Yousaf to a humiliating first defeat as leader of the party. It won't. It absolutely won't. I will guarantee, I will go out and take a bet that he will not be leader of the SNP by the time of the next election. If the next election is when it's actually due, rather than an early election. If he calls an early election, it would be a different matter if he's calling it. But he certainly won't win it. Regardless of what happens, he won't win it. But if he just won't be leader in 2.5 years, because if he is, there won't be an SNP. The potential Rutherglen by-election will be an indication of where the parties stand at the moment, with Mr Sarwar claiming a win for him would send a message to his rivals. A win to him would send a message to the members of the SNP that they have chosen unwisely, and they will certainly go and get him out and get Kate Forbes in. Sarwar continued, as every day goes by and another SNP cover-up comes to light, or another lie to the media and the public is exposed, it would be easy for us in the Labour Party to simply sit back and watch as our opponents tear themselves apart, as they turn inwards and fight amongst themselves, which of course they're doing. The SNP have completely forgotten what matters. When you have a party that cares only about dividing the country, it is no wonder that the party itself is now irretrievably divided. There is talk of a schism. There is talk of the SNP actually dividing, and you're going to have like the sensibles, the normies, the ones that actually don't want all the weird policies and they just want independence. They believe in independence. I think they're wrong, but I will not knock them for the political belief. Because they are the normies. They say, yeah, look, we want the NHS sorted, we want this sorted, we want that sorted, we want a future for our children. But, they still want independence. Whereas you get the swivel-eyed loons who are predominantly very on the left, who say that all these things, we want all these things, but it can only come about by independence. And you can't educate them. You just literally cannot educate them. So there is going to possibly be a split in the party, which would be great. Anyway, those divisions, he said, this is Sarwar going on, he said those divisions were of course always there, beneath the surface, only kept at bay by Nicola Sturgeon and Peter Murrell as they used their power to shut down dissent and disagreement. And that I agree with him, and that I will say, and I have said, that she did have that ability. She had what Humza Yousaf only dreams of having. She had authority, she had respect, She had the power to hold people down. She could just cast one basilisk eye on someone who was about to say something and they would retreat. She ruled that party. He could never do that. He does not have that ability. She is a very shrewd political operator. Awful woman, terrible politics, but a very, very good politician. And so anyway, it's just him going on about saying a bit more about how bad it is in that party. But he does mention the GRR bill and says that is sort of the final straw for a lot of people up and down the country. And it will be that on which the SNP will be judged, and judged very harshly. So there we have it. The starting, they're off and running. They're officially off and running now. Labour have said, no, this is it. This is our push for it. So expect something from the Lib Dems and the Tories over the next week, 10 days, something like that. Certainly by, say, the end of the month, they'll all be up and running. And I think the momentum now towards an early election is building. I cannot see this government staggering on as long as it hopes to. There's no way on earth it can do that. So well done to Anna Sarwar for starting this. Hopefully he will, do something. Hopefully it will split the party. Hopefully there will be an election, and hopefully the SNP will be out, humbled and destroyed. And it'd be nice for Nicola Sturgeon to see that. Anyway, I shall round off and we'll come up. Yep, I do seriously think that this government's days are numbered. I think Labour are right to start this, right to push it, right to highlight all the foibles. But also I think the Tories, the SNP, not the SNP, the Lib Dems, they also need to be doing it. I think they need to get the game in gear, stepped up to the plate and start hassling them, pressuring them, and make sure that when it's called, and I think when more than if, because I think this SNP government cannot go on any longer with all the problems they've got. The policies that I did the video this morning about their minimum income guarantee. That is the politics of 5-year-olds. It's completely naive. It's a failure to understand the basic realities of life. And it's down to him. It's down to Humza Yousaf. He hired her. He put her in that position. And then she comes up with crap like that. He hasn't got the power to fire her either, because he has no authority within the party. The party can't go on without that. So his days are numbered, and it will come sooner or later. And this next election will be telling. If it goes the way it's looking like, that Labour win, take this seat, Renfrewshire, and Hamilton West away from the SNP. But it's the win is probably going to happen. It's probably going to become a Labour seat. That's not the issue. But it's where does the SNP come? If the SNP comes second, I think Humza Yousaf is probably saved for another day. If they come third, it's very, very difficult for him. If they come fourth, I think he's gone that day, or at least within days. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it would be. And I think there is a great danger of that actually happening. So many people are now disillusioned with everything that's happening to them, that they know that even the ones who want independence now have an alternative, a viable alternative. So yeah, I think it's definitely the last days of the SNP government. I don't think it can linger on until another 2.5 years. I don't think that's that's possible. So it's just a case of him growing a pair and saying, okay, it's up, throwing the towel in and having an election. And then when it's all defeated, he can go off and launch himself into a new career, perhaps on television. Who knows? He can do Strictly or something. I'd like to see him go into the jungle. That'd be fun. I'd be voting for that bastard every night. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you've seen here on the channel, do hit, please, that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, share the video, and until next time, keep a flame in your heart for a change of regime, and goodbye.